factors he describes two kinds: doubt, fear, anxiety. Being what he calls the negative kind, what he calls their positive or noble counterweights: courage, confidence, and esprit. And he says you don't know which way that's going to go one way or the other. So it can either impede or stimulate. One day they may appeal to one, the other day they may appeal to another. Then he does a very interesting thing. All these activities interact with many factors, including all these above, which throws in complexity, lack of knowledge, etc., that tends to impede. He calls that friction. Friction interacts with many factors that impedes activity. And then he makes a very famous statement. He says, friction is the only concept that more or less corresponds to those factors that distinguish real war from war on paper. The only concept that distinguishes real war from war on paper. The point is, if you don't account for the idea of friction, you're talking about something other than war. And you should look at some of the computer models we have in the Pentagon. We don't even think about it. And then they wonder why the models don't play out as well. Because they don't bring in the human factor. When you're dealing with the human factor, you're dealing with friction. Even in the physical, particularly human beings. Then he goes on and states, the climate or atmosphere of war is friction. And it's a thread that goes through all this treaty. Some people don't pick it up, and you read it, you see it. It shows up again and again. As a matter of fact, in a sense what it is, it's a precursor to a modern concept of what I call the second law of thermodynamics. And you've heard the term, many of you, entropy. Friction and entropy, same kind of thing. And if you look at the way he states, the way he uses it, you look at the way they talk about the modern second law, very, very similar. Very powerful notion, very important notion. Then he says, how can you overcome this friction? He says, really, one best way is by experience. Another one is having a particularly brilliant commander, whether it be Alexander, Napoleon, etc. And he says, if you have that brilliant commander, he describes him as a genius for war. Those people that can overcome that friction and deal with that complexity. And if you have that individual, he changes the nature, magnifies the scope of operation. He can't change the character of war, but he certainly do that. And then his strategy related to that. Note this, he exhausts enemy by influencing him to increase expenditure revenue. Keep that in mind. And note this one, another very important concept. Seek out those centers of gravity upon which the other guy's movements, what he does, depends upon. And try to make him, trace him back to as few as possible. Ideally one, if you can find that one center of gravity and go after that one. And then to drive that point home, he said, in this activity, compress all effort against those centers into the fewest possible actions, ideally one again. And he shoves it one more time. Subordinate all minor secondary actions in all this activity. What's his point? What he's trying to do, these are very much in harmony with his idea of friction. He's trying to reduce his own internal friction to deal with his adversary. And then we already described the importance of speed. Also, go after the major battle will promise a decisive victory, what he calls a decisive battle. And his aim is very simple. In his own words, render the enemy powerless for defensive. With emphasis on destruction of his armed forces. That wasn't the only way, but that was the emphasis. On destruction of his armed forces. Another way is to grab a piece of territory. Another way was to destroy his will. He emphasized destruction of his armed forces. Good question.
It sounds like equal distribution. Go against its centers, and then...
No. He said, find what you do is look at its centers, find that one center that describes more than anything else, and go after that one center. Reducing the fewest possible, ideally one. Then he says, compress all effort against those centers in the fewest possible actions, ideally one. Know what you're saying? One more. Then he said, subordinate all minor secondary actions as much as possible. In a sense, if you look at that, you can call that concentration. Remember, he's going against few centers, few actions. That's what we're talking about. And some people interpret straight concentration. They don't read the richness of this comment. As a result, they don't see into it. Better word would be focus, trying to get a focus. The concentration is running. Focus is better than running focus. You'll see we'll use that later on. We'll work our way through. Okay, with that in mind now, you're onto something here. Let's critique Napoleon. Excuse me, Claudius. If we critique Clausewitz, we note that for one thing, he tends to overemphasize or overplay the idea of decisive battle, tends to underplay strategic maneuver. And you can understand why, particularly at the time, to remember, he actually, in a sense, was reacting against that 18th century warfare where they tried to do all these elegant maneuvers and they made no decision. So it's somewhat of an overreaction. The other thing, Clausewitz emphasized method routine at the tactical level. As a matter of fact, he had a chapter on method and routine. And he wanted to tackle them in his own words to reduce his own internal friction. His own words. Why? Clausewitz was very much concerned with trying to overcome or reduce friction uncertainty. Unfortunately, he didn't turn the argument around. He failed to address the idea, why not try to magnify your adversary's friction uncertainty? It's not that the former is wrong, you want to look at it both ways. Remember, if you reduce your own, and you're not looking at his, you may also help your adversary too, relative to you. You gotta look at it both ways all the time. Clausewitz was also concerned with trying to exhaust his adversary by influencing him to increase his expenditure. Once again, he didn't turn that argument around. He failed to address the idea, why not try to paralyze your adversary by denying him even the opportunity to spend any of it? Now we see a difference between he and Sun Tzu. Clausewitz, in a sense, was trying to keep himself from being driven bananas. Sun Tzu was trying to drive his adversary bananas. Or using Clausewitz's term, Clausewitz was trying to reduce his own friction uncertainty, whereas Sun Tzu was concentrating trying to magnify his adversary's friction uncertainty. As a matter of fact, if you read Sun Tzu, he's doing both, worrying about his own plus his adversary. And it's richer in that sense. I mean, he didn't use the word friction, but the idea is there. Friction is Clausewitz's word. And then Clausewitz made an incorrect statement. Quote, the center of gravity is always found where the mass is concentrated most densely. That's not always true. The center of gravity in a dome, it's in the hole. There is no mass. Or in a hollow steel ball, it's where the steel isn't. Or in a dumbbell, it's in the connection between the two masses. They come up with all kinds of counterexamples. And somebody said, wait a minute here, that might be a cheap shot. He might not appeal to that definition. That's strict. That's correct. But let's see how he did appeal. And then he argued that is where the place, then he failed. Then he argued that's where the blow should be and where the decision should be reached, that center of gravity. But then he gave 3 examples of centers of gravity. The army, the capital, and public opinion. He followed up the army and the capital, didn't follow up public opinion. That was a mistake. Because public opinion depends upon what? The connection of one against the other. That's the thing you people deal with. And if you disrupt those connections, you generate many non-cooperative centers of gravity. And that's my point. He failed to develop the idea of generating many non-cooperative centers of gravity by striking at those connections that permit a larger center of gravity to exist. You follow up. So raise a rather interesting question. What does all this mean? I made this big argument. Where the hell am I going? So let's invert the argument. Once again, very often you get insight when you invert. So once again, let's invert the argument. So let's assume that we can generate many non-cooperative centers of gravity in our adversary system. If we can do that, then we deprive him of the opportunity to expend effort. That's the same thing as paralysis. If we paralyze him, we impede vigorous operations. That's the definition of friction. We magnify friction. So we can generate many non-cooperative centers of gravity in the system. We deprive him the opportunity to operate in a directed way. We paralyze him with impede vigorous activity, which defines friction, magnifies friction. That's he didn't draw a real good connection between friction and center of gravity. And we saw it one way. In any case, if you paste all that together, here's the message. So then pretty soon things begin to see it happen. If you're trying to have your methods routine the same, the other guy's the same, pretty soon you get some nice, well-regulated battles and strength going against strength. It's a bloodbath. Depending on how you interpret it. You want to read in, be very careful. Okay, with that in mind, let's look at Jomini. Jomini lived a long time, born in 1779, died in 1869 after the Civil War. And he wrote his treatise, The Art of War, in 1836, also 1836, 1838. And around 1861, we find these comments where he's describing the ideas he had in mind when he wrote that. I'll let you read it. dominate